This is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network, now in its 7th year. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Hey everybody, red letter, that's Alex. White letter is Ramble, that's the name of the program. And we're here until midnight tonight. Ladies and
short
gentlemen.
Short is good unless you're Joe Rogan.
So. Oh, short is good unless you're Joe Rogan. That's the voice of Larry Bubbles Brown.
Yeah.
And he's out there in California where gas prices are what?
Sunday night I got it. I got the last batch for $5. Now it's like $5.40.
Wow. Because California is like the most expensive in the country.
Yeah.
Because you've got all those extra taxes and stuff they threw on there.
Right.
Yeah.
And, killing us.
And you're driving what car?
I got my old Camry.
Gets how many miles to the gallon?
It does about 23.
Oh, really? That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's a pretty big car.
I thought it would be eating up gas like crazy, like getting 12 miles to the gallon or something.
No, that's. I was reading some guy that got a truck for work. He's spending $2,000 in gas a month now. So those guys are getting killed.
Wow. So,
I remember do you remember the first gas uptick in October of '73?
I don't. I remember an uptick. I remember. Here's how I remember. This is my gas history. Okay, let's go through my gas history, and it's 82 years worth of gas history.
That's a lot.
Okay. When I first started driving a car, when I was a kid, at 16, I guess I could drive in California at that time. Was it with a learner's permit, or could you actually drive at 16? I can't remember now, but I started driving at 16. And gas was, I believe, if I remember correctly, 29 cents a gallon. All right?
Yes.
But then they would do something called gas wars, in which the gas companies tried to compete against each other by lowering their prices. So one would lower it by a penny, the next one would lower it by a penny, next one would lower it by another penny, then the other one would lower it by a penny. Eventually, I was buying gas for 9 cents a gallon.
Shit, really?
Yeah,
wow.
during one of those price wars. Yeah.
I remember, and they would give you things, they'd give you glasses and things.
Oh, yeah. And also, remember this, folks. You remember this. None of you remember this. I remember this. Maybe Larry remembers this. You would pull into a gas station, and 4 people would surround your car. And one would be checking the oil, the other would be doing your windows, another one would be checking the air, and another one would be pumping the gas. Do you remember that?
I do remember that, yeah.
Yeah, and they all were wearing like these outfits with plastic bow ties, or rubber bow ties. Do you remember that at all?
Don't remember that, but I do remember that you'd actually get service going into the
Yes. And now it's you know, can I have some help with this pump? Fuck you. You know.
Yeah, you can't even get air for the tires anymore. They charge you for that.
They charge you for air.
Yeah.
Think about this, folks. Air, right? What are the things that we have on this planet that are free? Water and air, right? Not at a gas station. They cost you money. So, you know, and then I remember. I think it stayed at 29 forever. Jeez, I mean, I think when I moved
in the 20s forever. Then October of '73, there was a little skirmish in Egypt and Israel, and that's when gas went up to 45 cents, and that caused actually a recession.
Wow. And now, of course, you could see it go up to $7 a gallon in California.
It is in Southern California already.
Oh, really?
Yeah, LA's higher.
Oh, jeez. That's horrible. That's terrible. Oh, well, I mean, my question is, you see what's going on in the Ukraine. If we need to do these sanctions against Russia, is it worth it to you to pay a little extra at the gas pump, or a lot extra at the gas pump, to help the Ukrainian people, which is essentially what we're doing?
I don't like that. I'd rather have cheap gas.
Oh, you'd rather have cheap gas, okay, than a live Ukrainian. Okay, we get where your motivation is.
I just think, I don't know, Putin's the guy I don't think you want to mess with, because I could actually see him launching.
Yeah, well, I listen, if he launched a nuclear missile anywhere, he would be dust within seconds. So I don't think they'd do that. I don't think they'd do that. I think those are idle threats on his part. He's simply bluffing his way through this whole thing. Doesn't have the people to. He doesn't even have the army to handle this. They don't know what to do. But anyway,
I don't know why he did it, but
he did it because he's crazy. I think he's literally gone nuts. He's got like what is it? What's the disease where you shake a lot?
Parkinson's.
Parkinson's. I think it's Parkinson's.
Does he? Oh wow, that does affect your mental ability.
Yeah. I think it's Parkinson's that he has, and if not, it's MS. But it's one of those things, and he supposedly doesn't have his wits about him.
Okay.
Supposedly, if you watch him, he holds his hand either on his other hand on a table, or his hand under the table because it shakes like crazy. Yeah.
That sounds like a horrible disease.
Well, I hope he has it, and I hope he suffers. Suffers slowly. I mean, it's just insane. It's just insane. Why can't we? You and I have never lived in a world that was totally at peace, have we?
No, it's always some war going on.
There's always something going on. Somebody impinging on somebody else, and so on and so
forth. World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Iraq.
Well, you know what? Here's what I was saying the other day on the program. It was that the problem we had is we did so well in World War II because we came back feeling a sense of having saved the world. Which is not exactly true. There were a lot of other people involved, and to this day they get a little pissed when we act like we saved the world in World War II. I mean, the British, how many died in Britain? And how many Russians died? 25 million Russians died in World War II defending it.
Yeah.
And they've always hated us for years when we go, oh, well, we saved the world. What do you mean? 25 million dead in Russia. They put their people against the muscle of the Nazis. But we did do good. There was no question we had to go into the wars we went into there. The Pacific War was different than the war in Europe. The war in Europe, we were fighting to stop Hitler and stop totalitarianism. And in the Pacific, we were just fighting for our asses. Because they attacked.
That was the amazing thing, that we fought a war on two fronts.
Yes, but anyway, so I mean, it was we came back and we felt pretty good about ourselves, and that's okay. We should have felt good about ourselves, but we felt we could do it over and over and over again. That we could save the world, or we could go in somewhere and save something, and on and on and on. And what happened in the end? Is that since that war, we've never really fought a just war. And we've never actually won a war. I mean, we didn't exactly win in Korea, okay?
No, it was kind of a stalemate, and then Vietnam we lost.
We lost, and in the Mideast with Iraq, We didn't really win that one, you know. In fact, there was nothing.
No, and there was absolutely no reason to have that one either.
Exactly. So, you know, I mean, we really haven't had a successful war or a just war that we've fought, you know, for really just purposes until this thing has come along, you know. And this is a humanitarian crisis. No question about it. And so, you know, that being the case, since I'm not of battle age, as it were, I mean, even if I went over to Ukraine right now and said, I'm an American, I want to fight, where's the front line? Put a gun in my hand, which I would do in a second, believe it or not. And I'm not a brave person. You know that. In fact, I'm known I'm known far and wide for my cowardice. I just... you know, I would do it, but I'd get there and they'd go, I'm sorry, you're too old to fight. You know. What do you mean I'm too old to fight? Give me a goddamn gun. Let me kill a couple of them fucking Russians, you know. I feel sorry for the troops that are over there, the Russian troops. They don't want to be there.
Doesn't sound like they want to be there. I don't know. Just
they were told that they were going on a what do you call it? On just you know, maneuvers. No, they weren't. But anyway, you talk. I talk too much. I'm sorry. I don't like interrupting you.
Okay. Well, I think that we're not going to. Human beings, I think we seem to be very warlike. I don't see that changing. Do you?
Well, you know, I always felt that you know, I believe in evolution. Okay. And I believe that evolution is a good thing, and a thing that exists, that we do not remain the same, and that we evolve, and so on. But the fact is that we really haven't. You know, where this is concerned, we are still as primal as we ever were. You know? So.
You can't breed it out of us.
You can't, but what is it in us that makes us do this, Bubs?
I think we're just animals. So most animals are territorial, and I think we just.
But you would just think with evolution we become less territorial.
You would think, but we haven't. We haven't gotten better at all.
Because being territorial doesn't do anybody any good, you or anybody else. So why are we territorial? I have no idea. You know, but it's scary, and it's scary when I see somebody like Putin doing what he's doing to not in defense of people, because they're holding their own. At least we're recording this on a Tuesday, and it'll be played on a Friday. So by now it could have all changed, but they've really held off the Russian bear quite well.
Yeah, I thought they would be down in a day. So.
You know what I heard? I heard they've had various estimates on the Russian deaths, which you're never going to get an accurate amount because Russia's not going to say that they've lost a lot. They said they lost 450 people. The estimate is they've lost almost 11,000.
Wow.
Yeah. So, take that, Putin. You know, they lost, I don't know, about 1,000 Ukrainians. I don't know the amount, but it's certainly disproportionate, let me put it that way. And I can't believe that it isn't making the troops get a little discouraged, you know, because they thought they were just going to run in there and just wallop these people because they were just the nice little Ukrainians. What kind of warring abilities do they have? And they fought back. And, you know, we don't learn a lesson in life, I guess. You know, and the lesson to be learned from, say, Vietnam was never fight a land war against people who have something to lose. You know, because they're going to use any means possible to fight you. Whereas your troops are kind of going to go, well, I'm not going in there. I could get killed. So, anyway.
Yeah.
So, as the selfish part of Larry Brown now wants cheaper gas and doesn't care what goes on to the Ukrainian people. I see. I thought you were more kind of humane than that, you know?
No, I just want cheap gas with a drill bumper sticker on my car.
Oh, boy. Well, you know, it's our chance to kind of do our part for the war, you know?
Well, you served in the military?
Yeah, I served in the military. I served in His Majesty's Navy.
And that was before Vietnam.
Well, actually, I was being let out. What happened was, when I was being let out, I was being mustered out with a bunch of people I had actually been mustered in with, because we all were Navy Reserve, which was a 2-year stint. And so we all wound up in the same barracks, waiting to be, you know, given our walking papers. And one of the guys I saw there had a bunch of ribbons on him. And I looked at his patch, because they all had patches. When you got a patch, you got a patch for the ship you were on. It was over the shoulder, on your shoulder. It was kind of like in an arc, okay? And if you ever look at a Navy uniform, look for that. It'll tell you what ship the guy's on. And mine said USS Topeka, and then I think it didn't say, it probably still said USS Topeka, but I was with the Armed Forces Radio and Television Service. So I'm being mustered out, and this friend of mine comes to me, and it said the USS C. Turner Joy. And I said, you were on the C. Turner Joy? Because it was the C. Turner Joy, and do you remember the other ship?
No.
Okay. See, I got bubs on one. The USS Maddox.
Okay.
And what were the USS Maddox and the C. Turner Joy? They were the two boats that were allegedly attacked in the Gulf of Tonkin.
Oh, wow.
Okay, and
that's big. That's what escalated Vietnam.
Exactly. And that was our excuse to go in there and kick ass and take names, or so we thought we were going to do. And I'm talking to a guy, and I said, "And you got all those ribbons, boy. You're a hero. You were out there in this big battle." He says, "What big battle?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "There was no big battle out there." He said, "We went to battle stations. We heard our guns fire a couple of shots out into the night. Then they secured us from battle stations, and the ship went back into port, and we came back and we were heroes." He said, "Nothing went on out there. We just fired into nothing. But we had to say that we were being attacked." And I went away with that story. And then when I went to ABC, I told that story on the air, and I was told by ABC News, "Oh, you can't tell that story. That's not true." I said, "It is." I was mustered out. "No, you don't tell that story again."
Wow.
And a couple of months later, it came out that nothing went on in the Gulf of Tonkin.
Yeah.
And they came back to me and they said, "How did you know?" I said, "I told you. I listen." You know? And I had the same problem with them on Nixon going to Russia and signing a treaty that included a deal for Pepsi-Cola. And they said, "You can't say that." I had said it. And then a couple of months later, they come back to me and go, "How did you know he signed that treaty for Pepsi-Cola?" And I went, if your news department would quit sitting there in an office, typing into a typewriter, and go out and just listen, you would probably get some of these scoops, So, but it was, that was a war that was a totally tragic war, the Vietnam War. It just made no sense at all, and it tore this country apart. You remember that? You remember the times, right?
Oh, it tore the country apart as probably almost as bad as a civil war.
I would say, there were kids who were suddenly made criminals because they went to Canada rather than fight. And it was horrible in this country, and it had a detrimental effect on our psyche as a nation. And so what good did Vietnam do us? Nothing. But doggedly we kept fighting it, hoping that somehow, it's that old thing about what is insanity. It's doing the same thing over and over again, expecting the same outcome. And we weren't going to get the same outcome. It was amazing, just amazing.
Yeah, I was at the very end. I was possibly going to get drafted, and my father said, "We're going to Canada if that happens." And then the draft lottery came in, and I didn't get drafted. But that was a rite of passage. Most like you had to go through that. Everyone had to serve 2 years.
Well, I was before the Vietnam War. So I went into the Navy just to keep from getting drafted into the Army, because they even drafted during peacetime. Okay.
Right. Everybody had to go.
Yeah. So I remember, I guess it was from a Marx Brothers picture in which there was a sign or something that said, join the Navy and see the Army at work. So I took that seriously, and I joined the Navy. And also my father said the food's better in the Navy. Yeah, the food's better in the Navy if you can eat it, but when you're on a boat and it's going back and forth, you're going to vomit. I'm sorry. You're just not. Food is not going to look good to you.
No. And then Nixon ended the draft.
Did he end the draft? Yeah,
I
think so. Well, they really had to. It was so dispiriting. And they may bring it back at some point if we really have any major, like if we suddenly go into World War III and we need troops. They may bring it back. But I was not eligible for the draft at that point during Vietnam because I had already served in the Navy, so I had done my service to the country. And I spent 2 years in Hollywood. That was pretty rough duty, No, come on,
dodging hookers.
Well, no, as I like to tell people, enemy planes never got past Santa Monica Boulevard, and that happened on my watch. Okay, so no, I spent most of my Navy time, about 3/4 of it, at the Armed Forces Radio and Television Service in Hollywood, and I never had to wear a uniform. We wore just tie and shirt and jacket. So only once a year did we have to put the uniform on. And that was on Armed Forces Day, so that when we came into work, everybody would know what service we were with, And on those days, I couldn't remember how to put that damn uniform on because you got those 13 buttons in the front, and it's not fun. And then you had to do the tie, which is a square knot, I think it is. And I never could do the tie. I had a tie that somebody had tied for me, and then I would just take off and never undo. So,
Yeah, I never learned to tie a tie myself.
Well, no, this wasn't a tie. This was, that it's like a scarf kind of thing, and you put it through, and there's a square knot in the tie. It's the Navy tie. Okay, all right. Well, you don't know from that. You never had to be in the military.
No, I was dreading it though. I don't think I would have done well because I would hate to be in a job that you can't quit. That's right. You can't leave. You can't.
Yeah. It was close to that at Live 105, but
Well, you got through the Navy okay.
I got through the Navy okay, yeah. And I was very lucky. I got to practice my profession while I was in the Navy. So, that was good. That was really good. I'm not going to complain about it, okay? But anyway, so I hope they never have to reinstitute the draft. That was so dispiriting to Americans. And in the future, we're probably not going to need the troops. We just send over drones. That's it.
Probably, yeah. The draft started right before World War II.
Yeah.
Passed by one vote in the House.
Right. And I remember I saw...
And then they kept it after World War II. It was the first time they had the peacetime draft, and that lasted until 73.
And I remember seeing pictures of the first draft in which they just had all these pebbles or balls in a jar, and they picked out one, and they said, number 23, you're the first person to be drafted. Hey, listen, we got to go here. I'm running out of time. But
You've been drafted.
I've been drafted. Let's talk next week, Bubs.
We will.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
This is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network, now in its 7th year. Talk like you've never heard it before.
And that's our good friend Larry Bubbles Brown, ladies and gentlemen, checking in with us once again, and we're checking in with him, and that's cool, and that's good. That's wonderful. Well, we only have one person waiting tonight in the waiting room, but he's a goodie, so I'm happy that he's here. Let me just do this. Wait, hold on a second. I gotta admit him, okay? And let me also do this so I know what people are. There we go. Let me see here, and I got to do one other thing, put in participants here so that I can bring people in as they call, if they call. But right now, it's just you and me, Josh Wheeler. Hello, Josh. How are you?
How are you?
I'm okay.
Maybe this is actually Saturday and we just don't realize it.
Maybe we don't realize it, or maybe it'll just be you and me and Jeff. Look at Jeff. He's in that's a very nice kitchen you're in there. Is that in Georgia?
Yep, still in Georgia.
Boy, it's very nice. Very nice. Looks like a nice house they have there, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Tim's.
There we go. Well, you got your audio still up there. Participants here, so because you were listening to it. Just kill your browser, I think, and you'll be fine. Oh. There we go.
That's
Whatever.
one way to get rid of the audio.
Anyway, hello, Alan. How are you this evening?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Fine. Listen, I wanted to mention something, and he said I could mention it, so I'm going to because I feel compelled to. Kevin Stopper, who is a really good friend. He's a good friend.
I know who he is.
Well, of course you know who he is.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yes. Kevin Stopper, who I'm more friendly with than a lot of other people because Josh and he and I and Patrick get together on Saturday nights and have a little talk with each other that doesn't get broadcast or anything, and it's probably the most intelligent discussion I have of the week. And Kevin probably won't be on the show for a while here because his mother is you know what's going on, right, Josh?
Yeah. She's just ill, so he's just taking care of her.
Well, she's more than ill. It's getting towards it's getting towards that time, but she's almost 91, and when my mother went at 100, I just went, well, I could sit here and feel sorry, but I'm going to make a lot of people lose their parents at 50 feel pretty bad,
I just talked to him.
Yeah.
Not that long ago, a half hour, whatever. He just kind of the same. He just stepped away for a little while to take care of that.
Well, our hearts were with him because Kevin is one of my favorite people. He's just a terrific guy. And we've had some good discussions and things like that, and the kind of camaraderie we have when we get together on Saturdays.
Yep. Yeah. He's just taking care of that. I think it's about the same as it was whenever he sent you a note or whatever. Kind of what he said the other day. It's just one of those things. none of us in life can avoid is having to kind of go through that. So
Yeah, yeah.
he's
Well,
taking care of it.
when this happens, it just makes me feel bad, because I'm getting there, and I worry every day. I go every time I feel something, I go, is this what's going to get me? Um, Today I got all upset and obsessed with the fact that I have mild kidney dysfunction, whatever that means. The doctor found it, and this was a while back, and I just saw that he had written it down, and he went, okay, the numbers are okay, but it's mild, chronic kidney dysfunction, and then he said, drink lots of water.
And don't take NSAIDs.
Huh? Yeah.
Do
well,
not take NSAIDs.
I'm through. I'm through with the ibuprofen.
Yeah, I was going to say it'll do damage.
Yeah. So anyway, aspirin will do most of those things, right? Take care of most of that stuff. So anyway, but when I go, is that going to get me? Is that the thing that's going to get me? Am I going to have to go to dialysis with Trucker Steve?
I'm 20 years younger than you, and I have the same feelings, so you're not alone.
Yeah. Well, it's just I feel bad for Kevin because I know what he's going through. Because the biggest fear I think any person has is the death of a parent.
Well, I wish him happiness, and I hope that if his mother hasn't passed away yet, did I get that right?
No.
I hope she's not suffering. I don't know what to say. I mean, I don't know the details.
Well, she may well survive it. I mean, they're making plans to put her in a hospice when she gets past this little problem. So we'll see.
I hope that works out.
But I have a friend. I'll tell you, we have a friend, a family friend, who she and her husband. I don't know any two people that were more linked at the hip than these two people. And a few years ago, he started coming down with, I think it was Parkinson's. And it got worse and worse and worse. And then he had to be put into a home, and that's where he is right now. And some days he's lucid, and other days he's not. And it's like, she's lost him already, And she said to Marjorie, I kind of wish he would die, rather than go through this prolonged suffering. And so on, and so I feel sorry for people, especially like that, who have to go with a person who really kind of loses it, and is it's not the same person you knew, and I don't think I would have that problem. I don't think I'm ever going to get that way. But Marjorie has a good shot, she forgets a lot of stuff lately. And she's 4 years younger than I am, something like that. Yeah. So I don't know. Marjorie and I talk in terms of, well, if you go before I go, and I'm thinking, is that all we're going to talk about at this age? If you go before I go.
No. In the meantime, you get to talk about all your concerns and aches and pains too.
Well, that too. But I mean, it's just. I don't know. I just, I can't imagine life without her, and I don't think she could imagine life without me. Although I think she'd probably buy a new house or something. But anyway, But so is this all we're going to have tonight? Is this all that's going to be calling us this evening? Are we just the four of us here?
Oh,
I don't know.
could be.
Last night the numbers were really low all the way around. I don't know why, but and the Monday show still kicks ass. So
What's the weather in California today?
It's nice. It was in the high 60s and low 70s here today.
Mm-hmm.
It's cold now. I mean, it's like 55.
Well, right now it's 46 degrees here in New York, and it's supposed to. I think it's supposed to snow tomorrow or something like that. I don't know. I have no idea. But what's it like down in Georgia?
Very how warm was it today? She said 60.
60?
But today.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it started raining
Yeah.
on and off, and I think theoretically
Well, there's a
there may
cold.
be a lot of rain coming.
There's a weather front coming up through the south,
Yeah.
and will hit New York eventually here. So.
So, you're not at your house, Jeff?
No, I'm at our sister's house.
She collects
Her husband.
refrigerator magnets, I noticed in the background.
Oh yeah.
So what are you doing down there? Anything exciting?
Well, Pam's mother is actually down here
Mm-hmm.
for about a month, and then for a while she was at her other sister's house, and so we had some kind of like a vacation down in Fort Lauderdale area,
Mm-hmm.
and that was kind of fun stuff. And now we're stopping by and seeing all kinds of people.
What do you do when you're down there? Down in Florida.
Here?
Down
Not too
Florida.
much.
Florida.
In Florida. Yeah, we used to go down to the beach and walk around the beach.
You buy stone crab?
No.
You don't eat stone crab when
Lot
you're
of
down there?
fish.
They have like Joe
But they
Stone
have
crab
crabs.
down there.
They have crabs up here in Georgia.
Do you know what they do with the stone crab? Do you know this story about
You break off a claw and throw it back in?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the cruelest thing I ever heard of. Okay, because
never heard
here's this crab. He's floating in the ocean. He's having a wonderful time. You know, he's singing Jamaican songs. I don't know, whatever they do in Disney movies, and all of a sudden he gets caught. And he goes, well, I guess life is over. Starts writing his little crab will. You know, it's over for me. And then all of a sudden they come over with this, I don't know, hatchet or whatever it is, and they cut off a claw. And then they throw him back in the water, where I imagine he keeps going around in circles. But then, because they throw them back, because what happens?
They grow the claw
The
back.
claw grows back, right? And they go, hey, not half bad. I got my claw back. Hey, I'm hot here. Oh, wait a minute here. They're going to catch me again. Oh, fuck. They're taking off my claw again. I mean, it's the cruelest thing you could do. Just kill them and get it over with, you know?
Wouldn't that be great if, when you got older and couldn't get an erection anymore, if they could cut it off and it would grow back?
Josh, not a high level show tonight. Alan just brings it into the dumper.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Jeff likes it. I thought it was kind of cute.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. But well, I mean, it could happen to me, but it wouldn't matter. I go, I wasn't using it anyway. So.
My day was good. My night's not so good. I found out my blow-up doll's a lesbian.
Okay, now that's funny. Oh boy. Anyway, so is anybody else going to call? By the way, all you have to do, we could take some new callers too. I mean, all you have to do is go over to gabnet.net. Over on the right-hand side of the page, there's a thing that says Zoom. Click on that; it automatically takes you here. You're automatically logged into the show. It's that easy. It's that simple. But I can't imagine that. It's just like been quiet this week, just really quiet. Although I think Tuesday we had a lot of people. So
Tuesday? You didn't even have a show on Tuesday.
What? I mean Wednesday. Excuse me.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
That's because Phil was on the show.
Yeah, that's because Phil was on the show. Right. Don't say that. You're going to make him get an ego. Oh, wait a minute. He already has one.
He already has a
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, Josh, what do you think about our president's handling of this whole thing in the Ukraine? In Ukraine, I keep saying the Ukraine.
He hasn't been very aggressive at all. I don't really think he's done enough. I mean, I don't think he's the only one. I think the whole world really hasn't done enough. But they keep they keep saying they won't do this, or they won't do that because they're afraid it'll escalate it. But escalating it might be what's needed.
Yeah.
We talked about this last week, and I was clear that it's easy for someone to sit in a comfortable chair and say things like that or whatever, because it's no skin off my backs or whatever. But the thing about it is that it's going to escalate one way or the other. So whose favor would you like for it to escalate in? The world's?
Well, don't you think that Putin is counting on the fact that we're so afraid of starting World War III? If I hear that one more time, I'm going to puke. About starting World War III, that they let him get away with murder.
Yeah.
Okay. Literally murder.
I feel like, in a way, that Biden's current foreign policy on this issue, and really some other issues before this, the Afghanistan deal, a lot of it, I just feel like a lot of this is not really Joe Biden or what he would like to do or thinks, because they're not really consistent with what his life's work has been, in my opinion. They seem to be a little bit contradictory to that, and it just seems to me like he's governing, or at least making foreign policy decisions based on what he thinks people will think about it, like by polling, if you will. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that ideally he would like to be more involved over there, and he probably believes that we should be, but I just feel like that he's standing there and then saying, yeah, but man, the American people they're not gonna like that. So we're gonna take these, little baby step things. We're just gonna kind of nibble around the edges. I don't know that that's a good idea.
I get the feeling, okay, and this is just checking the pulse of the American public, that they're really bothered by what's going on in Ukraine. That this really, they see it on TV and it breaks your heart. Okay, and I think Americans are a lot of Americans are going, let's fucking do something about it already. And my feeling is this, and I said this to Marjorie today. I said, what more was Korea but World War 2.2? And then we got to Vietnam, that was World War 2.5. All right. And then we got into the Mideast, and that was World War 2.7. So what's another 3/10 between friends? And let's get to World War 3. All right?
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to happen. I think it is the Damocles sword that he's holding over our heads, and hoping that we'll believe that. Yes, Jeff?
I think I remember from Vietnam, and a lot of my friends went to Vietnam, got shot, whatever. Most of them that I knew survived, but a lot of people had a lot of problems from Vietnam, didn't quite trust the whole concept, and I think a lot of people grew up saying, we're never going to participate in that kind of a war.
Well, we will never do again is we'll never have a draft, because the draft was so dispiriting that it tore the country apart. And I don't believe in a draft anyway. I think if people don't want to fight a war, then you don't do the war. And I'm not saying we do the war. I'm saying we go in and rescue the Ukrainians. I mean, they are being slaughtered. And we have a humanitarian right to go in there and save lives.
That's what we do. We're the policemen of the world.
I mean, when somebody's walking across the street and it looks like a car is going to hit them, do you push them out of the way, or do you just say, well, I don't own a car, so I can't I can't do that. I mean, here these people, I mean, they are just being bullied by a big superpower who they're holding back, but they're not going to be able to hold them back forever. And I think that if we let Putin get away with this, he's going to try more. And the only threat he has, that's the reason we aren't doing something about it, is, well, this could be the beginning of World War III. Well, I'm sick of that shit.
Yeah, well, I mean, and even if it were, he's not going to defeat the world, as it were. I mean, he's just not, So, yeah, I mean, I just, it's like Biden is almost, governing based on polling data or
That's
something. And
correct.
I don't, care much for it. I mean, look, the policy of containment is only going to work if you contain him, right? I mean, if you don't contain him, then
well, you
containment's
can't
not really
let
a
him
policy.
get away with this. And what we're doing by worrying about this whole World War III concept is letting him get away with it. And he's relying on that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of people pushing that rhetoric, and I almost think that's what it is. I mean, I heard David Ignatius, who, the reporter for the Washington Post or whoever, and he's really good.
Mm-hmm.
But, I heard him say on Morning Joe, like maybe yesterday morning or something,
Yeah.
that, the world was as close as it's ever been to nuclear war in its history, even closer than the Cuban Missile Crisis. And I'm like, I cannot agree with that. There were documents declassified 10 years ago that proved out that at that time the world was literally 1 minute to midnight. I mean, there was a book written called 1 Minute to Midnight that detailed it incredibly well, how close we were to sending an invasion force to Cuba, and how dead set the Russians at that time were to using their very small tactical nuclear weapons on our troops to vaporize them on the beach, which would have needed a proportional response, which would have needed another and another and another, and nuclear war. And I don't think this is the case.
Yeah, let me proffer this to you, okay? To begin with, you want to talk about people who drop nuclear weapons. We're the only country who's ever done that and dropped them on another population, not just testing, but another population. But that happened, what, in 1944?
I think so, yeah.
In 1945, excuse me, 1945. How many years ago was that?
Long time ago.
It was a long time ago, and nobody has since then, in spite of the proliferation of weapons. I mean, a lot of big countries have these nuclear weapons. We have about over 5,500 of them.
Yeah, well,
Russia has about 6,500.
Yeah, the other thing, though, is like our tactical use of that was able to end a war, okay? But in Putin's case, I just, in my opinion, he's not going to do anything to end a war with that sort of a thing, okay? It's only going to escalate it, which doesn't work in his favor. And like we talked about last weekend, if in the process he simply destroys everywhere that he's trying to annex, what's the point of having it? I mean, what's the point of me stealing your car and rolling it over 60 times?
Well, but that's what he's done there. I mean, that place is rubble.
Right.
And they have no money to fight the war, and all the things that are going on, all the things that we're doing and the world's doing against him. He has no money coming in. How's he going to rebuild?
Yeah, I mean, even small tactical nuclear weapons in an urban warfare setting it's just going to destroy not just people. It's going to destroy the infrastructure, the land, the ability to use the land.
Dirty bombs.
I don't know that anyone's growing corn at Chernobyl or wheat. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's not. That's what I'm saying. I don't see a way that serves his purposes. Now, I understand the argument that he's not rational. He's not thinking rational. Yeah, I get all that, but I'm just saying, all that's going to do is lead to a road of annihilation for him. I mean, to me,
Absolutely.
if he sets off a nuclear weapon against anybody, anywhere, I mean,
or you just
the world has no choice at that point but to absolutely, fucking destroy him. So I don't see that. So with that said, I get that no one wants to escalate the war. I mean, look, I don't want to escalate a war either. I mean, but when you don't have a choice, but to fight, you have to fight or
well, I see all those. I see all those trucks on the road going into Kiev, and I think of them lined up like that and go, I just wish I had a jet right now with bombs, and
They're not all there anymore, Alex. Today in the news, or last night in the news, they're moving them now. They're dispersing.
Well, no, what they're doing is they're pulling them off the side of the road so they can't be found by missiles. But I saw one shot where they were going through and just blowing up tanks on the road, and I went, God, I wish I were in that plane.
This country has a habit of doing humanitarian things when things are late in the picture.
Well, we got into World War II late. We were in World War One.
We were attacked.
Japan attacked us. We used that as a pretense to get into the European war as well. But the thing was, World War One. What were we? Correct me if I'm wrong, Josh. Weren't we just in World War One for about 6 months, 8 months, and that was it?
Towards it was a little longer than
very
that, but
tail end of that war.
Yeah, the last 20% of it.
But we always wait when these countries come under attack until it's almost over before we jump in.
Yeah, and then we jump in and act like we're the good guys.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think getting in something with Russia, we got to be all in though.
Well, the world's going to be all in on Russia.
Yeah.
All they need is a missile to hit one of those nuclear reactors, or have a missile go into one of the NATO countries by accident, and they're in a world of hurt. So.
Yeah. So
it's just. I know that. Look, I get the arguments. I'm just saying, and I know that this might not really have been possible, but. Had the world, quote unquote, or whatever, decided that in 1939, they were going to be more aggressive when, a blitzkrieg rolled into Poland, maybe things would have went a little different, right? I mean, I'm not trying to equate the two, but I'm saying it's the same thing. We're kind of hearing the same arguments, when that happened, which was, he's just kind of this, that, the other, it's not that bad, and then it took off. So,
well, now it comes down. Oh, by the way, I have to take time out to praise the Polish people.
Oh, absolutely.
And I came up with a new Polish joke.
Oh, really?
A new Polish joke. You ready for it? How many Poles does it take to screw in a light bulb?
Wasn't it back in the old days too, Alex?
Shut up, Tony. I want to hear the joke.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'll say it again. How many does it take to screw in a light bulb? How many?
How many?
One. See, they're no longer a joke.
Oh,
Did you hear about the Polish firing squad? They're standing in a circle.
No. Yeah, you see, you don't get it. What I'm saying is that they're not a joke anymore. They really turned out to be good people.
I understand what you're saying.
Romania and all those countries, they're all taking those in, and then you see those people that are going over there to cook for people.
Yep.
I mean, geez, how can you? I can't imagine grabbing a suitcase and the family and just gone and leave everything behind.
What do you take with you?
You're talking about food. How are people eating and all that? All those basic things,
Yeah, toilet.
Those people that are going over there and helping. I saw a bunch of chefs that are going over there, or they're over in Europe that are helping out. And they say, hey, we're making huge, big volume of food that is nutritious for them, because we know a lot of these people have been not eating properly, and walking for so long, and they're exhausted to really fill them up. And it's like all those countries, and I'm sure they can't do it for a long, long time, but they're really with open arms, helping everybody out. Right? It's amazing.
Yeah. It's really
one of the things is Poland has got a very low vaccination rate, and so they go from the fire into a frying pan, and people are starting to get sick from COVID there. But what can you do?
But I just, you know, I just think, yeah. What were you gonna say?
Oh, I was just gonna say, it just seems like the lessons from World War II are just sort of not being learned. That this fear of escalation is leading to inaction, which is then actually just going to lead to escalation.
Yep.
Because the aggressor is not going to reach a point where they say, "Oh, okay, I got what I wanted. I'm good now. War over." I don't. I mean,
totally
I
agree
don't
with you,
think
Josh.
that's going to happen. Hitler didn't take Poland and then say, "Oh, well, we got all the land that we were, disputing, and it's all good now." And
well, we
sweet,
can't
can we join
allow
the United Nations? No, I mean,
we can't allow Putin to feel he won this one.
Nope.
You know,
Nope.
We've got to send him back to Russia with his tail between his legs. But I mean, it's horrible that he's bluffing us with this World War III thing, and I think we're letting ourselves be bluffed.
I think this has kind of backfired on him. He didn't realize the Ukrainians were going to fight back, unlike the Poles in World War II. And the other thing is, he was trying to with this. I'm gonna get ready my nuclear weapons. That made our country and NATO stronger, and he expected it to go the other way around.
Yeah, but here's the thing. He's not going to give up. He's not going.
No.
He's stubborn. So stubborn. He's not going to give up. So we've got to do something to make him give up.
I don't know if this is possible, but could he be more stupid than Trump? I mean, Trump didn't start a war, so
he couldn't be stupider than Trump because Trump was so stupid he believed Putin.
right there you go.
Okay.
Somebody said that on CNN last night that Trump doesn't even believe there's a war going on.
Yeah.
But, all the lies that they spread say, "Oh, military bases," and you see those apartments that go like this, and you just see this hole, literally a hole in there.
Yeah.
And the maternity wards, the hospitals, all these I don't know how they put it, but these assisted learning.
You
kids,
don't hear very much.
Places too. What the
you
hell?
don't hear very much about them hitting military bases or military installations.
Some airports, some
This is the Russian,
Right.
This is the Russian playbook.
Excuse
They
me,
did
I've
it
got
in
an itchy
Crimea.
nose. What?
They did it in Crimea also. It's their playbook. Russia is to go and kill civilians.
Yeah.
Well, look at what they did in Syria.
Right. Same thing.
And there
Syria.
they use biological and chemical.
Absolutely, and it's their playbook. Unfortunately.
All I'm saying is I think we got to get tough with Russia, and I think we got to go in and save these people's lives.
I think so. I think
I think
we did that a couple weeks ago.
And I think, like you're saying, also, it's not.
Excuse
just
me,
their
folks.
lives.
I'm not picking my nose. My nose is itching like crazy.
Let's all itch our nose.
But it's not just saving those people. I think it's also what else is going to come after that.
Absolutely.
He's going to have big balls to just do whatever he wants after that, right?
Yep.
Well, I mean, this is going to embolden him. There's no question about it. And I just think that we should be going in there. We should call it a no-fly zone. And if anybody flies over it, you shoot them down. That's it.
I don't understand his thought, though. He's going to blow everybody up, kill everybody, or have everybody get out of that country. And then what is he going to bring all the Russian people over there? And
how many people is it going to take to put at least 30 million people under your thumb? How many people does it take to do that, especially when they don't want you there? I mean, look at what happened to us in Vietnam.
Yeah.
There was no way we were going to win that war. We couldn't figure out how to win it because the people had nothing to lose by fighting us.
The conventional thought of guerrilla-style warfare that is, if you are facing an insurgency or a determined guerrilla-style warfare, the common ratio, I think, historically among military planners, they like to see a 10-to-1, ratio of combatants to, the invasion force or whatever, depending on what it is, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Is that the population of Ukraine?
The population of Ukraine is somewhere around, I think, 35 million, maybe 40 million. I saw one time it said 33 million, but I think that's gone up.
I mean, so
but then you've had like about 2.5 million leave. Okay,
right. But I mean, anywhere in that ballpark. I mean, even if you're off by 20%, I mean, it's hard to imagine a good scenario where if they're determined that, I don't know what the troop size was. I think he's mobilized somewhere around 350,000 troops. That amount of troops is going to be able to take over that population. That's going to be so difficult. But that's why I do believe that the one tool that they have that is helping that power is the same tool that has changed warfare since World War II, and that is the air superiority. Mm-hmm. So if the world could at least take the step to remove that tool from Russia's war chest, that significantly could change the game. But they have been reluctant to do so, as we've been talking about, and I'm getting to the point where I don't much understand it right now. I
think this is going to cost the Democrats in 2022, and in 2024, if he doesn't do something soon, it's going to cost him the presidency.
I don't think he's going to run for president again.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, I really don't think so. I don't know who we got in the bullpen right now, but it certainly ain't Schumer. I'll tell you that right now.
No, that's for sure. Unfortunately, on the Republican side, you got the idiot governor from Florida.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I just don't think he's going to get the traction he thinks he's going to get.
I don't know. He's pretty much a pro-Trumper.
Well, he can be a pro-Trumper all he likes. I don't know if being a pro-Trumper is necessarily going to get you the presidency.
Exactly.
I think that more and more people in the Republican Party are getting pretty disenchanted with Trump, especially with some of his most recent pronouncements. I say they run Tucker Carlson for president.
Alex, is that his real hair? I watch him sometimes. I always wonder if he's got.
I have no idea. I was never close enough to him to pull at it. So
I watched you on the show. I remember you used to be on at lunch.
When I used to be on the Tucker Carlson show. Well, it wasn't on Fox. It was on MSNBC, oddly enough.
Wow, what a change for him.
I mean, is this
ultra-liberal to conservative?
Well, no, he wasn't ultra-liberal on MSNBC. He was conservative.
Oh.
But he loved having me on the show because I was a wild-eyed lefty, and he loved it. And it was finally MSNBC that stopped that segment on Fridays. We don't think it's getting you any traction.
Didn't we have a common approach of solving these problems many years ago? Not the United States, but other countries, where they would kill the president.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think there's a person here, and we're all pretty nice people, I think, who doesn't wish somebody would go in and kill Putin.
Well, it's somebody in Congress, not Mitch McConnell, but somebody else
No,
like him.
it was, what's his name? Lindsey Graham.
It's the only time I ever agreed with the guy.
Yeah, Lindsey Graham said...
they're hoping that somebody goes and puts a bullet in Putin's head.
Yeah. But they can't get close enough. Do you see how long that table is?
Yeah, no shit.
I was going to say, how insulated do you think he is?
You'd have to have a sniper's rifle to get him from the other end of the table.
He's like on one end.
No, but he's really paranoid. The only people watching out for him now are former KGB friends of his, are his close inner circle.
They should send John Wick. Send John Wick in there.
John Wick. Yes, yes.
Hey, just wanted to drop in here for just a second. Heard this great conversation, and I think Putin suffers from the same problem that world leaders seem to suffer from, and that is no sense of history. You guys were talking about Vietnam. Perhaps Putin doesn't remember how long Russia was in Afghanistan and got its ass whipped by guys who didn't even have the kind of weaponry that's available.
Yeah, he does have an advantage here because in Afghanistan, he wasn't he didn't know the terrain. He didn't know the territory.
Yeah, that's true.
Where when it comes to Ukraine, it's pretty much Russia, So he knows the
But Alex,
terrain.
you pointed out something just a moment ago, and that is people will fight for their homes. We spent 20 years in Afghanistan. Russia spent 10, 15 years. How long did we stay in Vietnam? From 1956 to 1975? These world leaders have no sense of history that people who are fighting for their own, just like the colonies did against Britain.
Well, you also have to remember also that a guy like Putin is a singular human being who is now so separated from reality because he separates himself from the rest of the world. And these guys get to think they're the most important leader in the world. I'll give you a good example. Idi Amin. Many people said that Idi Amin, when he was in power, thought that he was the most important leader in the world. Literally thought that. Because they're so isolated, they get to live this fever dream. That they're more powerful than they really are. And in the case of Putin, he's a terrible tactician because this war it should have been over in 3 days, but he's a terrible, terrible leader for a war. So that being the case, let's show him how bad he really is, and send him back to Russia with his tail between his legs.
Or maybe not send him back, just put a $25 million bounty on his head and said, hey, somebody go get the money.
Yeah.
John Wick.
John Wick, yeah.
He's the only one.
Yeah.
But you really think Putin's just going to say, oh, we made a mistake, we shouldn't do this?
Well, Putin's got to, you see, what you got to do with Putin, he's got to find some way out that doesn't make him look bad. Not that he doesn't look bad, but, he's not, do you agree with me, Josh? He's not going to give up just because things are going bad. He won't admit failure.
And Josh, has there ever been history that someone's done like that? Big dictator just retreat?
Napoleon. Hitler in Russia. Russia was
they'll all run back to their homeland and put up a defense when they're forced to, but that's what we've been saying is it's going to take an overwhelming force to do so, and we're not really committing anything, and when I say we, I don't really just mean the United States. I mean, to me, if NATO was ever created for anything, is this not what it was created for?
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I understand that Ukraine isn't a member of NATO, but this is the guy trying to tap in a nail with a pair of pliers or something, and you're standing there thinking, they made a tool for
By the
that.
way, who tried to disassemble NATO? Trump?
He was trying to weaken.
I think he was doing. I think he was
at Russia's behest.
I think he was doing Putin's bidding.
Yeah.
I think he was actually Putin's bitch.
Oh yeah.
He could have made a narrative that I was thinking he could have made a narrative that if they would have weakened NATO, I was thinking, my brother, and they would have went on a false narrative like, oh yeah, he's doing some main things.
Oh, his whole gripe about NATO was they weren't paying their fair share of NATO.
Yeah, that's exactly
But there's no reason.
I mean,
Macau doesn't pay anybody really.
But if I mean, Putin is disconnected from a sense of history because if anything, he should understand that no leader of the Soviet Union, of Russia, of whatever you want to name them, because their name has changed every 15 minutes throughout history, no leader really lasts long. Okay, now I understand a couple decades or whatever. I mean, they may last a little while.
Stalin lasted a good long time.
I mean, but what I'm saying is, but they always end up with a demise at the end. I mean, they never exit gracefully. Okay, they all find themselves either dead, not by their own choice, or thrown out on the streets with nothing. I mean, it's not. I remember reading. I can't even remember the book that I read, but I remember reading a book a couple of years ago that said, right before Khrushchev was thrown out, that there's this old story about the phone call to him one night where they said, Mr. Khrushchev, the Premier Khrushchev's, the phone's for you. And he picks it up and he says, hello, this is Premier Khrushchev. And, no one says anything. And he says, I'm listening, and the voice on the other end of the phone said, you should have been listening a long time ago, and hung the phone up, and the next day they tossed him out. I mean,
well, I mean, but here's the deal. I mean, these people have to understand that they can't go on doing this forever. I mean, I'm a very passive person. I don't believe in violence and all of that, but I really think somebody's got to put a bullet through Putin's head. I think that's the only way he's going to be stopped. Otherwise, he's just out of sheer frustration. If he feels he's losing, you don't want him to even feel he's losing, he's going to pull out the biological weapons and the chemical weapons and even the nuclear weapons. So you're saying you're trying to avoid World War III? He's going to do it anyway if he doesn't feel he's winning.
I mean, that's sort of been my point, was that there's going to be an escalation, probably, in my opinion, no matter what you do. So whatever you do, you might as well make it worth your time. And I don't know that saying, well, we're not going to buy your oil, I mean, don't get me wrong, that's a great step, that's necessary, but I don't think doing that and then standing around and saying, well, look, we embargoed this, that's not, I don't think that's going to change anything for him personally. That's just how my read on that.
Well, also you got to remember something. Yes, we're hitting him where he lives, the money and so on and so forth. But I don't think that the whole all of Russia is going to collapse because they don't have a McDonald's to go to for dinner. Or a Starbucks to go get coffee.
There was a report out of Russia today that said that approximately 65 to 71% of the Russian people currently support Putin. And we're just not hearing that part of the story.
Well, for the same reason, Jack, that a lot of people believed Trump. When only messaging you're getting is that you're winning and that he's doing a great thing and that we're fighting Nazis in Ukraine and drug dealers. That's his whole push. If that's the only news you get, like Marjorie has a close friend, we have a close friend who is Russian, and she lives here, and I think she's an American now, but she lives here, and she calls back home to her mother and to her friends and everything, and she kind of defends what Putin is doing because everybody there tells her, well, have you heard they're using little baby kids to use as shields for people with guns, and things like that. All these lies that Putin's been putting out. And you say, well, why doesn't somebody speak the truth? Well, if you speak the truth, you get 15 years in prison. Okay? You can't say we're losing the war in Ukraine because what's going to happen is you get arrested and thrown in jail for 15 years. So nobody's going to talk against him. So you're going to say the majority of the people are with him. It's only because they have lack of knowledge of what's really going on.
Well, what happened to things like Voice of America, Radio Free Europe? How come we dismantled them?
They're still there.
Are they operating still?
Yes. I saw a report today from them. They had the only reporter embedded in the front forces fighting against the Russians.
Well, that gives me an idea about who I'm going to try to have as a guest on the intersection next week. Somebody from Voice of America.
My old boss went to work as the head of Voice of America at one point.
Who was your old boss?
R. Peter Strauss.
Oh, yeah. I remember him.
Yeah. And he got a job as the head of Voice of America.
You have worked with and been fired by some of the best.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Catch you at the top of the list.
Okay, see you later, Jack. Jack is going, wait, bye-bye. Wait, bye-bye.
Goodbye, Jack.
Yeah, goodbye, Jack.
But I'm just saying that, I mean, if NATO is not able or willing to take some effort here, I mean, then what was it created for? I mean, what does it take to mobilize NATO?
Well,
forces?
what it is,
I mean,
it takes for one of the countries in NATO to go again, to do it.
Right. Well, right. Which, I mean, I get that. So that's what I'm saying.
To be attacked.
Poland and not Ukraine, so then it's just a matter of membership.
Will we be sitting there even with NATO and saying maybe we shouldn't do this because it'll start World War III? I mean, I'm tired of this.
That's what I'm getting at. So you're telling me that, like, let's say this were Poland that he had invaded. So we the world, NATO, would be going ape shit and fighting him and bombing him and all this other stuff. So then it's just a matter of membership, which, by the way, Ukraine had been asking for anyway. I mean, and you were afraid to let him in because you were afraid if you did that it would lead to this, but it did lead to this. I mean, I'm kind of, I guess, back to my original point, which was it's going to escalate no matter what.
Well, the thing is, this war borders NATO countries, and so that does threaten NATO.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, what's to say that one of those? Oh, look who's looking in! Look at that! I saw. She been doing that for a while, and I haven't noticed it.
That's the first one.
That's the first one. I don't think it's going to be the last.
I mean, I just.
What'd you say?
I just look at that. Oh, go ahead. You were talking to him. I'm sorry.
I just said when the door handle goes down, she's coming in.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's just.
There we go.
I see it. I mean, I'm starting to see it like the United Nations. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I mean, United Nations can't give me a parking ticket. Fuck. I mean,
Well, the United Nations.
Here,
the United Nations was not formed as a police organization.
Right.
They were formed as an organization where if there was problems in the world, maybe there was a place where we could all talk about them.
Yeah, so they'll let the Russians show up and spread their fucking propaganda on worldwide television and sit there like, well, what can we do?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I hear reports that because they allow the Russians so much access in the United Nations that there are people advising Ukrainians not to give any information to the United Nations, such as GPS coordinates of their field hospitals and all that kind of stuff, and to refuse supplies from the United Nations because they're scared that the Russians will take the information from the UN and use it to bomb, strategically target Ukrainian troops, because apparently they used to do that in Syria. They would just have their people at the UN pull up that info, and then they would take it and they would use it. So when is it time to maybe boot them out of that organization? I mean, the only way you're going to stop him is with aggression and containment. And if you have to turn Russia into North Korea by basically walling them off from the world and fucking ignoring them, and not so much as selling them a fucking bowl of cereal, and if they all starve to death because they won't get rid of him, that's their problem. I mean, they have to take care of that.
Well, they don't.
Containment isn't going to work if you keep letting him burst at the seams. I mean, that's...
Well, and this threat, I'm going to use nuclear weapons. Well, go ahead, use your nuclear weapons and watch us respond, and you will be nothing but dust. Okay?
And I thought that Joe Biden was a Democrat who was sort of like myself with some war hawkish mentality, because he understood what could happen if you allowed things to go beyond a certain limit. And I was either wrong or I was right, and I'm also right about what I was saying earlier, which is that he is making decisions based on the fact that he wants to not make anyone upset so he can get reelected. And I'm disappointed either way. I guess,
that's the goddamn problem with this country, is that we should be doing the right thing for humanity, okay? And we're not doing the right thing for humanity because somebody's running for office again. He's always thinking about the next election and the polling numbers. I mean, I want one president who goes, fuck the polling numbers. I'll do what's right. And if I only get one term out of that, fine. I can go home and sleep well at night,
Well, I mean, that used to be sort of our idea. I mean, that's sort of the way we should be set up, with a Republican form of government, et cetera.
I mean,
where we elect
did
people to make
Roosevelt ever
decisions.
think about his poll numbers?
Well, no. I mean, oh yeah. I mean, everybody does. I mean, and they did poll back then, but it didn't guide him in the way that. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's not guiding Joe Biden. Maybe he really believes this other way will work, or maybe he's got some information that we all just don't have. I don't know. I'm just saying from my perspective and my understanding of history and how these things typically, I just don't like the path that he's on. And I just think that it's, I mean, I don't think he's terrible or anything. I'm just disappointed that things haven't been handled a little bit differently. And the world's doing the same thing. I mean, it's not just Joe Biden. You know what I'm saying?
If Joe Biden were to say to the rest of those NATO countries, it's time we do something about this. We cannot let him get away with it. They would listen to Joe Biden.
I agree with you there that if the Americans said enough is enough, this is what we're going to do, that I don't believe that the rest of NATO would say, oh, no, we we're out. I don't believe that. I think you're right there, that we are going to have to be the ones, that say, I mean, it's one thing for Poland to say, well, we'll do, come on. I mean, it's the Americans who have to take care of it.
How great is the Ukrainian president?
Well, he's an inspiring guy for them. I mean, that's.
I mean, he is. I mean, I wish we had a leader like him sometime. Who could?
I mean, he's an inspiring guy for them, which is good. I mean, he's got the right attitude about what they need to do. I mean,
yeah.
I sort of don't understand some of their negotiating that, I mean, to me, they don't have anything to negotiate. They should, take the, U.S. They should take the U.S. grant line there, which is there's just no negotiation. There's unconditional.
Did you hear the other day the Russians?
And that's it.
The Russian says we're going to give you a corridor out of the country, but it goes to Russia.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could only leave if you went to Russia.
Yeah. I mean, that's.
I have an alternate.
What were you going to
dealing with someone who's not going to deal with
Jeff, what's your suggestion?
Yeah, I'm always trying to figure out different alternate approaches to do things, and I don't know if they're ever going to happen. But if we just decide to take another 1 million people from one location, or 2 million people, and put them in other countries.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, what that property is, that now there's no more people on it, and they just blow it up, so that the property is not useful for Russia to pick it up.
Well,
it's garbage.
I just want those people to be able to go back home. I don't want them to be able to carry.
Well, they can go back later if you can be
if you can get Russia out of there.
Yeah.
But that
I mean, to me, the only way that the world is going to move forward from this in a positive way is if it ends in defeat for Putin. And by defeat, I mean he doesn't get anything, hardly anything, or ideally nothing. They got to pack up all their shit and they got to go back home.
All he gets to keep is the tail between his legs.
Correct.
But I mean, unless we get tough with him now, he's going to take this as a sign he can get away with anything.
Yeah. I do think the longer that it goes on, that's possible.
Yeah. Hey, there's the theme. Wow, good show tonight. Really good. Josh, always brilliant. Great to have you here. And thanks to Alan for joining us again. Some nice comments tonight. Jeff, very good. Tony hasn't said much of anything. You have anything to say? Any last 2 cents worth to put in?
I hope the best for Kevin's mom. I heard it early on.
Okay. Yeah. I think we all feel that way. And also Brian, thank you so much, and a special appearance by Adrian.
We sent you a little something. It'll be there Monday, they say.
That's what I hear.
Be careful, because there's a hat with there's a rock inside there. So be careful when you open it up.
Oh, why? Because I might knock myself out putting the cap on?
I want you to drop it on something and break it. There's a
Okay.
rock in there.
Anyway,
Decorated one.
everybody give a big wave goodbye, and I'll give a big wave goodbye at you. Thanks, everybody, for coming by tonight. A small group of people, but a good group of people, okay? Always enjoy having them here. And it turned out to be a good discussion, too, so it didn't matter whether we had 15 people or 5 people. We had a good crowd here. Anyway, listen, Jack Bishop is next with The Intersection. I'll see you back here on Monday at 4 o'clock on Facebook with Alex Bennett's Pop-Up. And then we'll be back here on next week on Wednesday with more of the same time, same station in life. And in the meantime, as always, if you see her, tell her I love her, okay? And you know the rest. I'm not even going to tell you about wearing a mask anymore. You don't need to, but you need to be vaccinated. Bye-bye, everybody. Have a nice weekend, okay? Bye.